Hello guys, it's Izzy. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to talk about the North London Derby, a game that I didn't have the chance to review immediately after the game came out. But it was good because it gave me the ability to sit back and analyze just how good Tottenham have been this season and how kind of unconvincing Arsenal still are. The feelings leading up to this game were that this was going to be Tottenham's ultimate test at the start of the season after a very good string of performances. On the other side, Arsenal were looking to build up a little bit more momentum as they were gearing up to face Manchester City in a couple of weeks in a game that will show us just how serious a title contender Arsenal are. But to all the new subscribers, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining our community. And for anybody that's new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button to let everybody else know and let YouTube know that you are enjoying this content. But now let's talk about the North London Derby. A game that was littered with a couple of messes, littered with a few good performances, but on the whole showed us that Arsenal are probably not where they want to be and Tottenham are headed in the right direction. That is because coming off of this game, Tottenham seemed the more buoyant and the more likely to now kick on. Arsenal still have a lot of holes that they need to plug in their midfield. And worse off, they are now facing a litter of injuries, some of which are not looking as though they might be as crucial because the likes of Declan Rice and Leo Trossard and Gabby Martinelli might be available for the next few games. However, you do not want to start a season off the same way that Arsenal have. That is because Arsenal were one of the most exciting teams in Europe all of last season. Their unexpected title challenge was exhilarating. It was beautiful to watch. And when you saw this host of very young, agile, athletic players coming to the fore, you felt as though Arsenal's future is going to be in the positive. They have had to make a lot of changes at the start of this season. This game was punctuated by that. It was more so the tug of war that happened in that midfield. On one end, you have Yves Bissouma, who has been giving out consistently good performances for Tottenham. On the other side, you had Declan Rice, who has been doing the same. However, after his injury, in came Jorginho. And you could see why Arsenal struggled in the second half when their midfield converted from Declan Rice and Fabio Vieira to Jorginho and Reiss Nelson. The first half was very positive for Arsenal, and they took the lead, aided by Tottenham. Now, Arsenal should have kicked on a little bit after that. And when Gabby Jesus stole the ball off of Maddison in a defensive position, Tottenham could have feared for the worst. He skied the ball, however, and this gave Tottenham the impetus to believe that they now could mount a comeback into the game. And towards the end of the first half, Tottenham were the stronger side. By the time Son equalized, you could feel as though the game was now starting to change because Tottenham were now getting more into it. One of the things that came out from that first half, and more evidently from the second half, is Arsenal's need for a clinical striker. Now, Gabby Jesus does work well as a false nine. And Eddie Nketiah can do a job when he's put in there. However, you just don't feel as comfortable with either when they play in these massive games. Jesus did manage to score his goal against Manchester United in a very composed finish. But in a game where the tensions were extremely high and when the game was still in the balance because the Manchester United game was kind of pretty much won by the time he scored his third goal, his composure was not evident. Now we start having rumors of Arsenal and Chelsea, on the other hand, being interested in Ivan Toney. This is kind of good news for Arsenal fans because when you look at Liverpool and you look at Manchester City and even Manchester United with Rasmus Højlund, they are trying to take a very pointed approach at making sure that they have a number 9, a striker whose main purpose is putting the ball in the back of the net. Arsenal have been trying to do pretty much what Manchester City and Liverpool have been doing for the last 5-6 years. But it does seem as though there is a little bit of a conversion from what we knew football as for the last 10 to 15 years, where the false nine was this fashionable thing that every team was trying to do. And now we seem to be harking back to the period when most of the strikers were big, burly, strong, and now pacey because of the improvements that we have in football. You just don't have a striker whose job is to bully defenders. His job is now to link up play, but more importantly, we are starting to see a rise back into the one-touch finisher. You saw that with strikers such as Darwin Núñez. He can go the whole game missing quite a few chances. And then eventually he just gets that one like he did against West Ham and he puts it away. And then you have the ultimate in poachers when it comes to Erling Haaland, who just puts the ball in the back of the net despite having fewer touches than anybody else in the field. That one-touch striker is going to be important because the Premier League and football in general seems to be reverting back to that original striker whose goal is just to poach. Arsenal don't have that right now. And although Eddie Nketiah is more of your conventional striker, questions still arise as to whether he is going to be that type of striker who is like your Ian Wright, who is just a natural born goal scorer. His form when it comes to Arsenal's under 21 has been pretty good. But however, the Premier League is unforgiving, and a lot is expected of Arsenal this season, which is why when you see Gabby Jesus missing a chance such as that could have put them 2-0 up and psychologically take advantage of any type of wavering confidence that Tottenham could have had was very important. And we see that because when Son equalized, Tottenham were now in the ascendancy. They were popping the ball back and forth with a lot of confidence in that game. Most of it was not very lethal in the first half. However, in the second half, you saw the composure come into Tottenham's team. And they overall ended up with more possession than Arsenal did at the Emirates. Against other teams, you would think that Arsenal would have planned to do this. But that was not the case. Tottenham were very comfortable on the ball. And in the last 10 to 15 minutes, Tottenham looked very good. Arsenal are still struggling to find out the best midfield option for them. It seems as though they are not confident yet in the formation that they play. And while Odegaard was more visible in the first half, he was not as visible in the second. Saka had a very good first half against Udogie. However, in the second half, he was not as lethal. And when he had put him on the back foot as much as he did in the first half, what he needed to do was keep the pressure on that side. Arsenal do not seem to have a very balanced way of attack at the moment, and they seem to be a team that attacks in growths and spurts. And it's not very good when you're trying to approach a Manchester City side who have started the season very well. And when you look on the other side, a team that I really fear at the moment, Liverpool, who seem to be doing very well despite not being as tight-knit as most Jurgen Klopp teams have been in recent past. Liverpool are only going to get stronger. And the fear is that Manchester City will only get stronger, being the fact that recently they have not been starting seasons off very well. Jorginho is obviously going to be the target of a lot of Arsenal fans. All he had to do was to hold the ball for a little bit, maybe give a tidy pass and take the pressure off. But I think one of the things that we don't understand is in these pressurized games such as the North London Derby, a lot of nerves come in. And with him coming in so soon into the second half, the pace of the game was a little bit ahead of him. And so while it was an error, one can't understand that in a game such as that, it is very easy to make mistakes. Romero made two, one of which was kind of harsh as far as how close his hand was to the ball when it struck him from the Ben White shot. But still, these games will be littered with mistakes because derby games hinge on emotion, and a lot of them tend to be decided by mistakes. Over the last 5 to 10 years, Arsenal and Tottenham have been closer to each other in terms of quality. Tottenham had the upper hand in the previous 5 years, but Arsenal are now coming back to the side that we knew them as a little bit before, when Arsene Wenger was displaying that free-flowing football. It is not cohesive enough yet for Arsenal, and they do need to do something about the striking position. Maybe they do need to look into trying to replace Thomas Partey. He has not been consistent enough for Arsenal since he got signed. For a player who has not had as many injuries when he was in Atletico Madrid, he is now bringing a lot of that into Arsenal now. And it makes no sense to why you would hold a player who's so injury prone and you can't count on him to be available in some of these really big games at the moment. As far as the number 8 position, there's still going to be a little bit of juggling around because Kai Havertz is not making it his own. Nelson can play there. Fabio Vieira has been okay at the moment, but there still is a problem in that position, which is why Granit Xhaka was so important to Arsenal last season, and which is why you saw Mikel Arteta shaping him into the player who he became towards the midpoint and the end of his career at Arsenal. If they're not going to be able to find a consistent number 8, they will have problems challenging for the title. But let's switch gears to Tottenham right now. Tottenham have been very impressive recently, and Ange Postecoglou has been able to influence his players very well within a very short amount of time, which is very impressive considering you have Erik ten Hag on one end and you have Mauricio Pochettino, who arguably has not had as much time as ten Hag, but Postecoglou has been able to make these guys play in a very good, free-flowing way. And for Tottenham fans, this is very, very good. It shows the sign of a manager who is able to connect with his players and being able to stamp his authority in the team without making too much of a big, bold statement. So Tottenham have a lot to look forward to. In a week that now sees them going to face Liverpool at home, they are going to have a lot of confidence coming into that game. And the thing about Liverpool recently is that they've been very slow starting off these games in the last 3 or 4 fixtures. And I don't think that they can be able to afford that against Tottenham, because Tottenham now playing at home with the confidence that they will have gotten from this North London derby draw, they will be going hammer and tongs against Liverpool. It should be a very good game to watch, but I will be more interested in watching that midfield struggle and to see how the likes of McAllister and Curtis Jones are going to deal with Yves Bissouma and Maddison, who impressed this last weekend. The thing that I did notice about him is that he had to drop deep a lot more, and I want to see if he's going to do that against Liverpool, because if Liverpool are able to push Tottenham back, then I think Tottenham will have some problems. But on the other hand, if Tottenham go out there and are aggressive against Liverpool and they're able to get a couple of goals up, I don't think that Liverpool are going to be able to come back much in the same fashion as they have been able to in the recent matches. Now, admittedly, Liverpool have faced a few good teams. West Ham have been on the up and up, and Newcastle are also no mugs. But being able to come back consistently might not always happen, and Tottenham have not shown any reason as to why they would be a team that would slack off when they face Liverpool. So on the whole, the things that I got from this game is that Arsenal do need to consider having another striker and somebody who is primed to score goals, maybe as a second option, because Gabby Jesus can slot into one of the wing roles, especially if Gabby Martinelli gets injured or if Saka needs a rest, because Saka does not really suffer from many injuries. And they might need that conventional number 9, somebody whose job will be just to strike the ball into the net, because that is something that you can see is missing from this team. Arsenal's chance creation is also not as impactful as it was last season. They're not creating as many chances as they did when you had Xhaka and you had Odegaard and Thomas Partey. It seems as though Arsenal are more ponderous as they are trying to build up attacks. And if they continue in this vein when they do face Manchester City or they do face Liverpool, they're going to be nullified. And I think it's worrying for them. They need to be able to create more chances than they have been. As far as shots from outside the box, they are not doing it as much as they did last season as well. So there are a few things that Mikel Arteta is going to have to think about. I know I haven't spoken about the goalkeeping situation. I think that's a video that I'm going to make on its own, because I have some thoughts about that and some priors to which I think I will discuss as to why I think this is a Mikel Arteta thing that we've seen before. It's not just something new. And I'm not talking about Bernd Leno. This is something I think I've seen before from Arteta. As far as this game was concerned, very positive vibes from Tottenham. Some worrying signs from Arsenal, not because they're not a good side, but because they have a few more holes that they need to plug in. And if they keep on being more ponderous in attack, they are going to struggle to create chances. And you can't have that when you're facing your Man Cities and your Liverpools, because those sides are creating chances and they are putting them away, as is evidenced by the fact that they are now both first and second. But that's all I got for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about the North London derby. I'm pretty sure you guys have already formed your own opinions. You've had time to think about it. Make sure you drop that like and hit that subscribe. It's been your boy Izzy. Thank you for watching again. Peace.